Correct, exactly. So it is similar to that. Okay, so in page 10, okay, so here I'm directly going to page 10 because on the top you will see a lot of things about what is employee central index and all that. Okay, so I'm directly starting from page 10 where you will see recommended implementation sequence. Okay, so these are all the 16 steps. Step 1, steps 2, step 3. These are all the steps which SAP is recommending us to follow if we are implementing employee central module. Okay, so these are the minimum number of steps that you need to follow as per this sequence, and after this it is up to you what you want to configure. These are some additional things, these are all optional things. Okay, so at least for 16 steps it is always good to follow this sequence for a successful implementation of SAP SuccessFactors Employee Central module. So this document is specific to Employee Central only. Okay, so even if you see here it says Overview Employee Central. Similarly, for every module in SuccessFactors like recruitment, compensation, onboarding, we have separate documents. Okay, so you'll be referring to this document only for Employee Central. So let's try to follow or continue the sessions based on these steps, and here and then whenever there is some deviation I'll tell you, and जो भी topics आपको cover करना है related to any of these things, okay, which are related to these steps, I'm going to cover those also. Okay, so just to make sure that we are covering all the steps, I want to follow the implementation guide only, and even it will be easy for you also to later on when you're practicing you can go through the similar thing. Okay, so first thing is setting up your new provisioning account. So this one I've covered it yesterday. Okay, so I've told you that, see, if you're working for a company like Maruti, and if it has decided to implement success factors, it has to reach out to a service partner, and that service partner, they will actually hire some consultants. Yeah, consultants. Yeah, so in once if they are certified consultants, only then their details is provided to Maruti. Okay, and the Maruti head or the IT head, they might actually give an approval email saying that you can raise a request for provisioning system. So only after they get the approval request, then they can raise an request for the provisioning account, and SAP will recheck the certification ID, and they will, in case if the certification is valid and if it is active, only then they will get the access to the provisioning system. See, as I've told you, as soon as you complete your certification, you are a certified consultant. But every 6 months, there is an upgrade that comes up from SuccessFactors. So you need to complete those upgrade related exams also. They are called as deltas. Okay, but to complete those deltas, you need to have access to something called as Learning Hub, SAP Learning Hub. Yeah, so this learning hub is actually little expensive. It's almost more than 2 lakhs in Indian currency. But if you're working for a service partner, they give it for free. I mean, they take the subscription for all its employees, and to make sure your certification is active and to let you complete those delta exams and keep your certification active, they give the access to the learning hub. Okay, so in case if you don't complete your deltas, your certification will become inactive. Okay, so even if you say that you are certified, but after 6 months, even if you don't complete one delta, it means your certification is gone. Okay, so that is the reason I suggest people to take up the certification only in case if they are about to get a job, because as soon as you join the company, probably the company whom you're hiring you, who's hiring you, they will actually give you the access to the learning hub, so you can keep your certification active. Just by completing a certification, and if you're unable to crack an interview and if you don't get a job, even that certification money is gone. Okay, all right. So setting up a provisioning account, this one, as I've told you, the account will be actually created by SuccessFactors, and they will actually send an email saying that your account is ready and you can log in. The credentials are shared to the email ID. Okay, so that is the first part where we will uh, get the access to the provisioning system. Okay, so just give me a second here. Let me log into the provisioning system. Oh God, I think looks like there is some issue. They're saying that I'm unable to log in, and this issue will be fixed in an hour's time. Okay, so basically the first step that we need to do is to create a super admin. Okay, there are two ways to create a super admin. One is through provisioning account. Okay, and the other one is through instance itself. Uh, Avinash, your voice is breaking. Are you able to hear me clearly? Okay, I'm hardly able to hear your voice. It is cracking. Tik, at least if you are able to hear me, that's a good thing for me. I'm sorry, I didn't get you. I didn't understand. नहीं आपका वॉइस ब्रेक हो रहा है कुछ उतना क्लियर नहीं है बहुत ही ब्रेक हो रहा है मुझे कुछ समझ में नहीं आ रहा है या वो हेलो हेलो ठीक है उसके बाद कुछ सुनने दे okay so see I've logged in into the provisioning system now so as per the guide okay the first step is to get the access to the provisioning system we have the access we're able to log into the provisioning system and the next part is to create a super admin so how do we create a super admin I'm going to show it to you now so we click on the company name so this is the company for which you want to create a super admin so you select the company name and you click on that and then we enter into the settings okay and here we have to go into company settings this one okay because most of the employee center related settings will be inside this company settings you go into this now search for I think looks like there are a lot of admins almost towards the end of the page you will see related to creating an admin so this is the place okay so remember this place here you can give a username which is your login ID credentials okay so let me create an ID for you a super admin ID for you so I'll use will this be okay or you want me to add anything here sorry you're breaking up I cannot understand now. Okay all right so let me continue now I'll give a temporary password for now okay let me give 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 then I'll give a name okay your one what's your email ID PANNA sorry your voice is Panashavi Is this the one? Uh, yeah, sorry, I barely able to understand what you're saying. So let me check my what's the email ID. I got it. Panashogi. नहीं भाई, it's like not at all. Barely able to understand what you're saying. No, that's okay. See, as long as if you're able to hear me, you can continue. So, see, the admin user is the ID which you're going to use to log into the instance. Okay, I am not trying to create an ID in the provisioning or to access the provisioning system. Okay, I have the access to the provisioning system and I'll be able to get it only from SAP. I cannot create multiple provisioning accounts all by myself. I can only create a super admin for you to access the instance. Okay, so now I've created an ID for you to log into the instance. I created a password and then your first name and your last name. Okay, after this, I'm going to save this. I have to look for save button. So here I have a save button. Sorry, ये अभी थोड़ा ठीक है. Okay, this is the admin user ID. So I think this is not required. So this is the email ID to which you will going to get the email ID saying that your account has been created. Okay, I clicked on create admin. Now it is asking me for the company ID. यार कुछ तो आज इश्यू है प्रोविजनिंग अकाउंट में. लेट मी ट्राई अगेन. क्या यार आपको यार बिल्कुल समझ में नहीं आ रहा यार क्या बोल रहा हूँ. नहीं यार वैसी ही है. Okay, this is done. I'm clicking on create admin. नहीं. Okay, let me create it later. So this is the this is the procedure how you create a super admin. Okay, once your ID gets created, I'll anyway create it for you and I'll share those details in your email. So once that is done, you will be able to log into the instance. Okay, so the admin part, creating the admin part is over as soon as you complete that create admin step. Okay, उसके बाद you can log into the instance using the credentials that we have created earlier. Okay, the next step is creating or defining the corporate data model. So from here, the actual success factor configuration will start. Okay, so corporate data model. So we whatever objects or whatever details that we maintain related to employee central are either data models or MDF objects. Okay, let me show you. Okay, so success factors, all the details that you capture related to the employees. Which company is he working? Which location is he going to be working in? Uh, what is his job code? What is his job level? What is his pay grade? Okay, and what are the different pay components that you're going to assign? Which department is he going to work? What is his division? So all these details that you capture related to an employee, the these are called as foundation objects. Okay, so this is a most important part. So these foundation objects are like your skeleton for the employee central module. Okay, so we have different kinds of foundation objects. One is legacy foundation objects. The other one are MDF based foundation objects. Okay, so when I say legacy foundation objects, they are actually XML based. Okay, XML is actually a programming language. Okay, so when SAP initially started SuccessFactors, they all the objects, all the changes were actually made using XML data model or XML language. Okay, then what it did is XML is actually, since it's a programming language, not everyone is well acquainted or they are averse with programming language. They wanted to simplify these changes, how a consultant will make these changes. So they started developing something called as an MDF based foundation objects. Okay, so in XML, you may have to understand or need some kind of coding. Normally, you don't have to write codes just like Java or .NET. You can just copy paste, and here and there you can just make some changes and you can get it done. Hello? Yeah. Okay. So XML based foundation objects and MDF based foundation objects. When it comes to MDF based foundation objects, you don't have to really know the coding, or you don't do any kind of you don't use any kind of programming language. Everything is configuration based. Everything is like setting drop. You will see something in the drop downs. You have to select that setting. Based on that, the object will change its behavior. But when it comes to XML, you need to make changes in the XML or in the coding through a tag, and then that change has to be imported into the provisioning system for you to reflect those changes in the instance. Okay, so first let's leave this part and let's focus only on the legacy foundation objects. First thing that you need to understand is foundation objects. They are like the skeleton of the employee central module. Okay, so first let's try to understand what are all the different foundation objects available in employee central. Then we'll try to understand what objects can you modify using XML and what objects can you modify using a MDF object. Okay, so let me write down the important foundation objects for you. The first part is the legal entity. Okay, this is the topmost foundation object. This will define the name of the company or the topmost hierarchy of a organization, also called as company code. Okay, then we have division, then we have department, then we have legal entity, business unit. Okay, we have business unit here. Okay, these are the foundation objects which will build your company structure. Okay, then we also have some more foundation objects like your location, because your location is also important. It will define where your company is located. Are you trying to say something? Your voice is breaking. Okay, okay, all right. So then we also have something called as job code, pay components, component group cost center pay grade scale type. Okay, in this way we have lot of foundation objects. Okay, these are called as foundation objects which build your which are like your skeleton of your employee central module. Okay, so earlier all these objects were part of your XML based objects, which are also called as legacy foundation objects. Okay, so when in case if I want to define what fields should this legal entity contain, I need to download something called as a corporate data model. It is okay for to take some time to get used to this terminology because it's like completely new for you. You might get confused initially, but slowly you'll get used to it. Okay, so to make any changes to these foundation objects, we used to use corporate data model. So this is an XML based uh, object. So in case if you want to make any kind of changes, you need to understand the tags or the uh, coding. Only then you will be able to make some changes. But as I've mentioned earlier, SAP wanted to simplify this process. So it picked up the most important foundation objects and then it started moving all of them to MDF based foundation objects. So when I say these were moved to MDF objects, it means these objects will not be available in XML anymore. Okay, all these objects can be modified using MDF based objects. Okay, so now I'll complete the theory part and then I'll try to get into the system. I'll show you how it's done. So now let's say we have something called as a legal entity. So it means you are going to define your company. What is the name of your company? What are all the different fields that you want to maintain for a company? So now because I'm saying that this is an MDF based objects, all the MDF based objects are actually changed using your instance. Okay. But if you want to make changes using XML, then you have to use your provisioning system. Sorry, Avinash, what is it? Let me call you on your mobile. I'm calling you on your mobile. Yeah. हाँ नहीं नो रिकॉर्डिंग इसमें नहीं होता है नहीं रहेगा शायद आपका नहीं होगा बट मेरा हो जाएगा क्योंकि मेरा नहीं मेरा नेट है ना ओके बट आर यू एबल टू सी माई स्क्रीन आई एम मूविंग द ओके वो हो जाएगा मेरा वॉइस तो हो जाएगा ओके ऑलराइट ओके ठीक है सो यू आर आस्किंग मी समथिंग करेक्ट 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 दैट्स राइट करेक्ट No, see, in XML only we can actually copy paste and then make our changes, then import it. Okay, but when it comes to MDF, you can everything is. Huh. Is it okay now? Yeah, headphone rakha. Okay, let me remove it. Okay, is it okay now? All right. Okay. So, see, I'm trying to explain it, so probably you will not be able to understand it that clearly. But as I start showing you in the system, it will be easy for you to understand. In the XML, whenever we say XML, it is code based. Okay, it has something called as tags. XML tags बोलते हैं. Okay, so in case if you want to make some change, you can make use of all the existing tags and modify it and then reuse it. You don't have to really remember the tags or try to write very big code. It's a just one liner code. So I'm going to show it to you so it will be easy for you to understand. So whatever it is, but still it is something related to coding. Okay, but when it comes to MDF based objects, it's just like how you configure your phone. Everything will be in the drop down. You just have to select what setting you want. Either you want to enable it. If you want to enable, you have to set it as yes. If you want to set it as no, then you have to just select no from the drop down. Okay, it will be much more simpler when it comes to MDF based objects. Okay, so now I'll show you how this XML tags work, and then I'll also show you the MDF based objects. Okay. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to show is legal entity. Okay. Yes, these are very important point. From here, we are actually getting into success factors now. Are you able to see my screen? No, I'm trying to log into success factor instance now. हाँ, नहीं, वो सब मत देखिए, अब थोड़ा नीचे देखिए. Okay, I've logged into success factors. I hope you're able to see. Okay, so now I'll show you how a legal entity is maintained. So for that, I need to get into manage data. Okay, so I'm just trying to give you an understanding of how the data is maintained, what all fields you see for a legal entity. You don't have to remember about manage data as of now. We are yet to cover those topics in the coming classes. Okay, so now I'm trying to create select an existing legal entity. Okay, so let me check something related to USA. Okay, so this is a legal entity. It means this is how we define a legal entity. Okay, so for a legal entity, we have to give a start date. Okay, when the company is starting or from which date is that legal entity valid from? Yeah, correct. So let's say if Maruti has started a manufacturing unit somewhere in Gujarat or some other place, and it started on 1/1/2021. And later on, if it has started a different manufacturing unit somewhere in Orissa in 1/1/22, then the date will be changed and the name of the legal entity will be different and even the code will be different because it is a altogether a different manufacturing unit. So it should have its own unique details to differentiate between the one which is built in Gujarat and the one which is in Orissa. Okay, so we also have details like ID, entity name, Description, if you want to describe about that particular legal entity, we can do that. Then we have standard weekly hours. It means in that particular legal entity, how many hours do we work for a week, in a week. Okay, even that is captured. And what is the default pay group? It means how often the salary is paid. Normally in India we have a monthly salary, but when it comes to US or probably in UK, they are even paid bi-weekly also. ओके, सो बेस्ड ऑन दैट जो भी वो लीगल एंटिटी में काम करते हैं उनको कितने दिन में पे करते हैं. इज इट लाइक बाई मंथली, सेमी मंथली, और इज इट मंथली, और इज इट क्वार्टरली, जो भी है विल डिफाइन दैट. देन वी हैव, then we are linking it to a country. Okay, so these are all the different fields that you see to create or maintain a legal entity, to define a legal entity. Okay, so now we have different fields here, and some of the fields also have star marks here. Okay, it means it's a mandatory field. So to do all the settings, like let's say start date. Now start date, when you say date, it is a date type field. Okay, so you cannot enter any text here. When you say start date, it means it should accept only dates there. Okay, you cannot say, okay, 1st of September 2019 or 20. Okay, it means you are trying to, exactly. It means you are entering the date in characters or in alphabets, and the system should not accept. It should enable you to make or edit this field only via this calendar. Okay, so to make sure that this calendar will appear, you have to link this field to a date type field. Similarly here, see here I can type alphabetical characters or even numeric also. Okay, and here also it is a free text. I can even enter an alphabet or numbers. Okay, so in this way we can define how the field should be maintained, what should be the data type. When it comes to default pay group, it is showing me the drop down. See, I have set of values here. It means I cannot type anything here. Okay, I can only select what is there in the drop down. Right? So it means each field has its own characteristic. It means some fields are mandatory, some fields are not mandatory. Some fields are free text. It means you can type numeric or alphabet. Some fields are date fields. Some are only numeric. Some fields have drop downs. Okay, so it means to define one legal entity, you need set of different kinds of fields, and each field will have different attributes. Like it can be mandatory, it can be visible, it can be editable. Like let's say if you don't want anyone to edit some particular field, okay, you can make it non-editable. It means no one can make any change manually. ओके, तो ऐसे जो भी एट्रीब्यूट्स आप एक एक फील्ड पे करना चाहते हो और सेट करना चाहते हो, all those were earlier done using a data model. Okay, it means all the changes were actually done using XML pad or XML data models. Okay, now what happened is, not now, probably in last 5 years the changes have come, and SAP has moved some of the main foundation objects from XML based to MDF based. So this is called as the front end because you are trying to maintain the data. Okay, but when we call something as a backend or configuration, it means that is the place where you define the object. Okay, so I'll give you a simple example here. Now let's say you have a brand new phone and you are maintaining the contact details. Okay, so when you click on create a new contact in your phone, it will give you several fields like your first name, last name, home phone, cell phone, date of birth. You can even give their address. You can even give, yeah, email address exactly. Okay, so all these fields are defined for each contact, right? So it means all these fields are predefined. But who has done these settings? It is already done by Android. Okay, similarly, when you're trying to maintain or create a legal entity, you have a set of fields. Okay, so these are already defined somewhere, and that is why you are just trying to maintain the data. Okay, you are not selecting which fields you want to see, which fields you don't want to see. It is not your job. Okay, you cannot decide what fields you want to hide. Okay, the fields are already defined, and the only thing that you can do is you can maintain data in each of these fields. Okay, like your example, your phone, and you have all these fields inside your phone book. Okay, it's up to you which fields you want to maintain and which fields you don't want to maintain, but you cannot say that, okay, I don't want to see these fields in my phone book. Okay, because it has to be done by the Android people or the Google company, not you and me. Okay, similarly, for every contact you have these fields, we have some fields in the legal entity also, and we are trying to define what data type, what if the field should be mandatory, all that in the backend. Okay, that backend itself is called as configuration. Okay, did you understand, or is it confusing, or do you want me to repeat it? Correct, exactly. So when you try to maintain data, okay, it is called as master data. Whatever data that you're trying to maintain or type in or select from the drop downs, it is called as master data. Not in legal entity, in complete HR space or even in any module, when you try to maintain some data in the system, it's called as master data. Okay, when you're trying to configure something, then you're not going to maintain any data there. You're trying to just set the various attributes for the fields or the objects. Okay, so now let's get into the system, and I'll show you one of the object. I'll show you a XML based object now, so that it will be easy for you to understand. You're able to see my screen, right? All right. Yeah. Okay. Now, location is one of the foundation object, and it is still XML based foundation object. Okay. So when I say XML based foundation objects, it means if you want to make any changes to this location field, you have to do it using XML data model. Okay. So let me just select one of the location. Okay. So for each location, we have all these different types of fields. Okay, so if you want to define one location in your SuccessFactor instance, you want to make sure you capture all this information, all the details in each of these fields. Okay, now we have different fields like code. It means you want to have a unique code for each location. You want to have a name, description, the status, if the location is still active or not. Like let's say There is a company which has started its operations in one of the location, and after 5 years, the business was not good, so it has to close that particular location or the unit. So that location, in that location, there is no more business, so they're closing the unit. It means there won't that location will not be active for that company. Okay, so in that case, you will make the status as inactive. It means in your company this location is inactive. Okay, normally Atlanta still exists in the map and in the world and in that country, but in this is related to only your company. So since you have closed that business unit or that manufacturing unit in this particular location, you can set this location status as inactive because you don't want to use this anymore, because there are no operations happening in this particular business. Okay, so you can set the status to active and inactive based on your requirement. Then we are also defining which location group it is belonging to. Okay, Atlanta belongs to North America. What is the time zone? What are all the standard weekly hours? In this location, how many weekly hours does an employee work for? What is the geo zone? Geo zone is like how the company wants to define or group a set of location. Okay, so no, that is part of your legal entity only. See, legal entity. Now you're checking the fields related to location. Okay, so in location you want to define only these set of fields. In legal entity you have a different set of fields. Okay, now if you check this location field, none of the fields are actually mandatory, right? Okay, so this is how you have defined the location. Now let's say you want to change some of the fields here. You want to make some of the fields mandatory. You want to add some fields and you want to remove some fields. Okay, now let's leave the screen like this, or let me take a screenshot of this so that you can have a reference. Now I'll show you how the changes are made. Okay, I'm going into the provisioning system. So to make these changes to your XML based foundation objects, we use something called as corporate data model. Okay, corporate means something related to your foundation objects. Okay, so just to give you an idea, we have four important data models in SuccessFactors. One is corporate data model. Next we have country specific corporate data model. Then we have succession data model, and then we have country specific succession data model. Okay, each data model has set of different objects and different portlets. Okay, we'll cover all of these in the coming classes, so let's go one by one. For now, let's focus on corporate data model. So as I've said, all these are foundation objects and these are all XML based foundation objects. So when I say some set of objects are XML based foundation objects, it means you can modify their field attributes using corporate data model only. Okay, now let's see what is a corporate data model. So to make changes, see, I've taken the example of location. So in location, we have different set of fields. Now our aim is to make some changes to these attributes. We want to add some fields, remove some fields, make the fields mandatory, change data types of one or two fields. So all those changes we can do for the location object. But how can we do that? For that we need to go into corporate data model. So how do we get access to the corporate data model? We have to go into provisioning system. Okay, so if you want to modify anything relay using your uh, XML data models, then you have to go into provisioning system. Okay, see, for modifying MDF based objects, you can use instance. But if you want to change anything related to XML based objects, then you have to make use of your provisioning system. Okay, so this is the only time when probably you may have to depend a little more on the provisioning system, only for corporate data model and country specific corporate data model. Everything else you can do it in the instance only. Okay, okay, so now I click on the company name. Now in company settings, okay, now when I scroll down a little bit, we see something called as succession management. Okay, so here we have something called as import and export data model. Okay, so this is the place where we import or export the data model. ठीक है? I hope you're able to understand the path. Okay, so we come to the companies. After companies, yeah, we are not getting into company settings. We just scroll down. Yes, correct, correct. Yes, correct. Yeah, correct. एक मिनट, I think this is the one. यहाँ पे import and export corporate data model बोल के है ना. So we click this one. XML, correct. Yeah. Then once we click this, it will give us two options. Either we can import it or we can export it. So now what the reason, the purpose why we have come to provisioning is to make some changes to the existing data model. Okay, we want to make some changes to the location object. Okay, so I want to make those changes. First, I need to export the file which is there in the system. So when I say I want to export a file from the system, it means that file has the configuration of the existing object of the location. ओके, तो हम जो भी लोकेशन पे फील्ड देख रहे हैं, इसका बैक एंड कॉन्फ़िगरेशन जो भी है, वो सब अभी एग्जिस्टिंग डेटा मॉडल में ऑलरेडी सेव्ड है. ओके, सो नाउ आई वांट टू डाउनलोड दैट. ओके, आई वांट टू एक्सपोर्ट दैट डेटा मॉडल. So now it will download the existing configuration. Okay, once it is downloaded, I can open this and modify whatever I want to, and then I need to re-import it into the system. Okay, तब क्या होगा? See, as of now location में जो कोई भी field mandatory नहीं है. Let's say for one or two fields we make the fields mandatory. Okay, आपने फाइल को डाउनलोड कर लिया, एग्जिस्टिंग कॉन्फ़िगरेशन का जो भी है, एंड यू मेड सम चेंजेस. यू मेड कपल ऑफ फील्ड्स मैंडेटरी. ओके, बट you made the changes in your system. Okay, after the changes are done, you need to import the changes into the system once again for the changes to start reflecting in the instance. Okay, so understand this part. Corporate data model, whenever you are planning to make some changes to the data model, you always have to log into the provisioning system. Provisioning system and instance are two different systems. They are linked to each other, but they are two different systems. Okay, understood? Or anything confusing here? Yeah, see, corporate data model exists in the provisioning system. हाँ, बट कॉर्पोरेट डेटा मॉडल में जो भी आप चेंजेस करोगे, वो आपको कहाँ दिखेगा? इंस्टेंस में दिखेगा. ओके, हाँ, क्योंकि ये डेटा मॉडल में हम जो भी चेंजेस कर रहे हैं, दिस कैन बी डन ओनली थ्रू द प्रोविजनिंग सिस्टम। ओके, तो अभी आपको कुछ चेंजेस करना है। लेट्स से इंस्टेंस में आप लोकेशन का डिटेल्स देख रहे हो, तो वो लोकेशन में आपको दो तीन फील्ड्स को मैंडेटरी करना है। So when you want to make this fields mandatory, you cannot do it in the instance. You have to download the existing data model. Okay, you have to download the existing data model from the provisioning system. Okay, I'll explain it on a paper now. Corporate. Now, location is a foundation object. It's an XML based foundation object, right? Now, XML based foundation object to maintain the data. We use BizX, but to modify the location, we need XML data model, and this can be done using a provisioning system. Okay, तो पहले हमने लोकेशन में क्या क्या फील्ड्स है वो सब देखा है, that we have done it using BizX instance. Now we wanted to make some fields mandatory and we want to add remove some fields. So to do that we have to do it using a data model. तो ये data model कहाँ है? Provisioning system में है. Yeah. So now I have downloaded the data model. Okay, first I have exported the corporate data model. जितने भी हमारा जितने भी ये फाउंडेशन ऑब्जेक्ट्स है XML बेस्ड वाले, ये सब कॉर्पोरेट डेटा मॉडल एक ही डेटा मॉडल में रहेंगे. ओके, सो लोकेशन के लिए अलग सा डेटा मॉडल, जॉब कोड के लिए अलग सा, पे कंपोनेंट के अलग सा, वैसा नहीं रहेगा. ओके, एवरीथिंग विल बी पार्ट ऑफ योर ओनली वन कॉर्पोरेट डेटा मॉडल. ठीक है. Now let's open the data model. Now you'll get a better understanding. Okay, see, this is how a data model looks like. Okay, when I said XML code जैसा दिखेगा बोला था ना, so this is how it look. I hope you're able to see. Okay, so यहाँ पे आप देखोगे तो यहाँ पे एक ID दिखेगा. Okay, so this is the ID of the foundation object, location group. Okay, and this location group is also called as geozone. Okay, if you scroll down a little bit, these are all the different fields in the location group. Okay, I'll show you one of them now. Okay, पहले हमारा location group आया ना. Now let's get into the instance. Okay, I'll open a just be patient for probably a week's time and then you'll understand. Okay, I understand that it is very new to you and it's completely technical. तो थोड़ा वो मोड में आने के लिए थोड़ा टाइम लगेगा, बट आई एम ट्राइंग माय बेस्ट टू मेक यू अंडरस्टैंड. बट आई एम टेलिंग यू, प्रॉब्ली इन अ वीक्स टाइम you'll get adjusted to the terminology and what I'm talking about. हाँ हाँ, नहीं नहीं, वही बोला था ना मैं, आई हैव डाउनलोडेड इट फ्रॉम द प्रोविजनिंग सिस्टम. करेक्ट. उसका बैकएंड जो है कॉन्फ़िगरेशन, वो सब हमें प्रोविजनिंग में मिलेगा. प्रोविजनिंग में कहाँ मिलेगा? वो प्रोविजनिंग में जाके, वो सक्सेशन में जाके, वहां जाके मुझे कॉर्पोरेट डेटा मॉडल को डाउनलोड करना पड़ेगा. ओके, सो लोकेशन ग्रुप में अभी हमारा क्या क्या फील्ड्स है, कोड है, नेम, डिस्क्रिप्शन, स्टेटस एंड टेस्ट 1 2 3 बोल के कुछ है, ठीक है। 1 2 3 4 5, these are all the different fields which are part of the location group. Okay, now I'm going to the XML now. Okay, XML location group. So इसमें क्या है, I have the first name, the label name as geozone. Okay, और इसका जो geozone है उसका ये सब translations है. You remember yesterday we have seen different languages. Okay, so in case, because I am using English, I'm able to see the translation, everything in English. Let's say if someone has logged in Italian, an Italian has logged in, and in case if their default language is Italian, then they will be able to see everything in Italian. तो ये जियो जोन बोल के मुझे जो भी दिख रहा है, इसका पूरा ट्रांसलेशन है ये सब, बहुत सारे डिफरेंट लैंग्वेजेस में. ओके, SA मीन्स आई थिंक इट इज साउथ अफ्रीका, BG is Belgium, ID not sure, Saudi, yeah, Saudi Arabia, correct. Czech Republic, हाँ. ये जर्मन, करेक्ट. और लैंग्वेजेस में यही इसका ट्रांसलेशन रहेगा नीचे. करेक्ट, एग्जैक्टली, दिस इज द डिफॉल्ट वन. एंड इसका हर एक लैंग्वेज में जितने भी सक्सेस फैक्टर लैंग्वेज एनेबल कर सकते हैं या सपोर्ट कर सकते हैं, उसका पूरा लैंग्वेजेस का ये ट्रांसलेटेड वैल्यूज है. हिंदी में भी अगर देखेंगे तो HIIN, हाँ, या. देन वी हैव कोड. ओके, ये क्या है, सिर्फ उसका नाम का ट्रांसलेशन है जियोजोन का. उसके बाद कोड आ रहा है. ओके, सो द सेम कोड यू विल बी सीइंग हियर. यू कैन सी माय स्क्रीन. ये क्या, अभी तक तो दिख रहा था ना. या एक मिनट में, लेट मी कैंसिल माय शेयर. Let me know once you're able to see my screen. I'm disconnecting the phone now. I think looks like your internet is better now. Okay, no problem. Right. All right. Now, see, for location, I hope you're able to see my screen now, right? Hello? Yeah, okay. Yeah. Okay, so in location group, we have a field called code. And same code is also available in the data model as well. Okay, so this is the same code which we are seeing on the instance. Okay, Avinash, are you able to follow me? Achha. Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah. Okay, all right. So see, whatever information that you see on the data model, that will be part of your instance. Okay, so now we are trying to discuss what are all the different fields available in the location group. Okay, so code is one of the field inside the location group. So now when we opened the location group data model, code is one of the field which is appearing, and code का ये यहाँ पे जो है ये सब attributes है. Okay, so I'll tell you what is it. For code, the required is true. It means when you say required, it means is it a mandatory? Okay, do you want the field to be mandatory? If you want the field to be mandatory, then you will set this required to true. If you don't want this to be mandatory, you may have to make change to this. You have to edit it. You have to change this to false. Okay, similarly, visibility is both. Okay, it means if you want the field to be editable, then you set it as both. If you don't want someone to edit it and if you want someone to only view it, okay, then you will set it as view, VIEW. Okay, and if you want to set the maximum length to more than 32, then you can set this to 35 or 100, whatever max length you want to support here, code. Okay, this one, it is now set to 32. Now if you want to increase the length more than that, you can increase it here. Okay, so this is about your code. Let's say similarly we have description also. Okay, so here we have description. Description, we have a bigger box and it is not mandatory also, right? Because it does not have a star mark. Now description का अगर हम यहाँ पे देखेंगे तो required बोल के कुछ है ही नहीं टैग में. So it means we are not setting this field as mandatory.
Okay, and maximum length is 128.
128. That is the reason the box is bigger to accommodate 128 characters. Okay, then we have this field status. And status, it is not a free text field, it is a drop down value. Active, inactive, दो है. Okay, so let's go into status. So status में देखेंगे तो it is required true. बोल तो यहाँ पे देखोगे तो it is a mandatory field because it is required is true. Visibility is both. It means we want the field to be editable. Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, tell me please.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so whenever we are doing actual location में अपन whatever changes we are doing.
Okay, so we modify the XML data models using something called as XML pad. Okay, so this is how the XML pad looks like and this is how a corporate data model looks like. Okay, these are all the different fields on the left hand side. I hope you're able to see my screen. On the left side, these are all the different objects of the corporate data model. So when I click on plus, okay, see this one is location group. So this is one of the foundation object called location group. Okay, so if I select the next one, it is geo zone. Okay, now if I click the next one, it is location. If I select the next one, it is pay range. In this way, all the foundation, sorry, yeah. I'm actually moving my cursor. Are you able to see my cursor? Okay, all right. So see on the left hand side, whatever that you see, they all resemble different data, different foundation objects. Okay, so अभी दिख रहा है ना ठीक से? See, first one location group है, ठीक है? Second one click कर रहा हूँ, ये geo zone है. Next और एक click कर रहा हूँ, location है. Then pay range, then pay grade, then pay component. So it means this corporate data model consists of all the XML based foundation objects. Okay, and now as we are discussing about location group, right? So you said you want to make some changes to the location field, right? Okay, let's go back to that field. Okay, so what do you want to do now? Do you want to make this field mandatory? Okay, let's decrease the size of the description also. Okay, so for that, normally we can do it through instance, but because location group is an XML based object, we cannot make any changes in the instance. The only way that we can make changes to these attributes related to XML based foundation objects is through a data model. So for that, first we have to download the existing data model from the provisioning system. So जब आप existing foundation object related data model download करोगे तो whatever setting that you see उसका related configuration वाला file आप download कर सकते हो, current setting जो भी है. Now this is the current setting. Now what you want to do, you want to make this field mandatory. Okay, तो यहाँ पे देखेंगे हम. Okay, this is the name, right? It is not mandatory because यहाँ पे required yes बोल के true बोल के कुछ नहीं है. So I want to now make this field name mandatory. How can I do that? I can just copy this tag from a previous or some other this one attribute, field attribute. I'm just copying it, Control C, and I'm going to paste it here. Okay, done. मेरा अभी यहाँ पे required true आ गया. So for name, now I'm trying to make this field as mandatory by setting this as required is equal to true, right? Now, similarly, even for description, I want to reduce the size, right? We want to reduce the size to, let's say, 30. Sorry, insert करना है. Okay, so 128 से मैंने 30 कर दिया है, right? You're able to follow? और उसके बाद मैं description को भी mandatory कर रहा हूँ by adding required is equal to true. ठीक है? So XML में अगर हमें changes करना है तो first thing that we do is we have to download the existing data model from the provisioning account, and then we copy the existing data model and put the source copy somewhere without changing it. Okay, just to be on the safer side. Okay, and then जो भी copy है उसका second copy उसमें आप changes करके वो use करोगे changes के लिए, so that the existing copy is intact. Just in case if something goes wrong after you upload it into provisioning system, you can re-upload the original one that you have actually saved somewhere. Understood? कुछ नहीं यार, अगर ये see this is the file. Okay, now I'll just copy Control C and Control V और एक copy मुझे मिल गया. हाँ, I'll keep it somewhere without touching it. Okay, and this is my original copy. Yeah, what I'll do is I'll just give it a name as today's date so that I can understand that okay, I've downloaded this copy today. आज का date 31 01 21. ठीक है? Now I've copied the original one. I'm going to leave it like this, and then जो भी मुझे changes करना है मैं इसमें करूँगा. ओके, इसमें इसमें मैं चेंजेस कर रहा हूँ और इसको मैं सेव कर रहा हूँ. ठीक है, now I've saved this record and then now I have made this change in the data model which is saved in my system. Okay, you have not uploaded them into the system. Okay, so अभी भी देखोगे तो आपको लोकेशन में यही चारों फील्ड दिखेंगे एंड योर चेंजेस विल नॉट रिफ्लेक्ट बिकॉज द डेटा मॉडल वाज मॉडिफाइड इन योर सिस्टम बट इट्स नॉट अपलोडेड इनटू द सिस्टम. So for that you need to again import this file, the modified one, into the provisioning system. Okay, पहले आपने export किया है. Export means download. Then you have to import this change. Okay, now let me show you. Okay, this is the original one. We have given the date. This is the one which we have modified. Okay, मैं ये select कर लिया file and then I am going to submit this. Okay, it should show that it is successful. The import is successful. So when I am trying to import this in the provisioning system, what it does is it will see it says successful, right? So what it does is this file will first get imported into the provisioning system and जो भी modifications आपने किया है वो सब instance को push कर देगा और instance में push करेगा, ठीक है? So now let me just refresh this page and let's come back to that location group and see if our changes are reflecting or not. हाँ, फिर से करना पड़ेगा. Okay, now I'm going to select location group. या अभी देखोगे तो सी मैंडेटरी बन गया और इसका साइज भी थोड़ा कम हो गया. Okay, so this is how you make the changes. Let's say if you want to, yeah, if you want to make change to this test 1 2 3 and if you want to create one more field, okay, so we'll again go back to the provisioning this data model. Okay, and then let's say मुझे ऐसे कुछ कॉपी करना है. ओके, ये टेस्ट 1 2 3 बोल के है ना, यहाँ पे मैं इसका नेम चेंज कर रहा हूँ. ओके, सो लोकेशन ग्रुप है तो लेट्स से कॉन्टिनेंट और उसके बाद मुझे और एक फील्ड क्रिएट करना है. नाउ आई एम गोइंग टू गिव दिस नेम. हाँ, या लॉन्गिट्यूड बोल के कुछ दे रहा हूँ मैं. लॉन्गिट्यूड, नहीं, आई एम सॉरी, एक मिनट, दिस इज नॉट रिक्वायर्ड. We are trying to create a custom field. It means we want to see some extra field. तो उसके लिए या अपनी रिक्वायरमेंट के हिसाब से. नाउ बेस्ड ऑन दैट वी ऑलरेडी हैव समथिंग कॉल्ड एज कस्टम स्ट्रिंग हियर. बोलो तो कस्टम फील्ड्स क्रिएट करने के लिए ऑप्शन है हमारे पास. सो आई एम मेकिंग यूज ऑफ दिस वन. ओके, एंड देन आई वांट टू use this to the in the location group object. ओके, सो मैं ये कस्टम स्ट्रिंग बोल के एक फील्ड ऑलरेडी हमारे लिए कुछ कस्टम फील्ड्स ऐड करना है तो वो प्रोविजनिंग हमें दे दिया है. हाँ, नहीं, मैं पेस्ट कुछ नहीं कर रहा हूँ, ये ऑलरेडी है. इसको मुझे सिर्फ एक नाम देना है और मुझे एनेबल करना है. तो हाउ डू एनेबल? विजिबिलिटी इज इक्वल टू अभी नन है. इट मीन्स यू आर नॉट शोइंग दिस फील्ड. But if I want to show this field on the location group, I have to add or change this to both. Both means view and edit. Okay. अगर यहाँ पे none है, none means you don't want to show this field on the location group. Okay. So, and one more thing, ये data model में change करने के लिए wherever that we are changing, this is called as source code. We can also make this changes using table view. View थोड़ा change हो जाएगा. Okay, से काम नहीं कर रहा है शायद. Okay, नहीं यार यहाँ से नहीं दिख रहा है. ठीक है. वी हैव एडेड अ न्यू फील्ड कॉल्ड लॉन्गिट्यूड नाउ. और वो पुराना फील्ड जो भी 1 2 3 है उसको हमने कॉन्टिनेंट बोल के रीनेम कर लिया है. नाउ व्हाट आई एम गोइंग टू डू इज, file is not passed properly, maybe invalid, confirm file saving. एक मिनट. Okay, so let me make that change once again. Continent है, and then we have longitude. Yes, correct. Okay, now I've made the changes. Now I'm trying to re-import this file. Okay, choose file, submit. Tomorrow what we'll do is I'll give you an overview of the complete success factor instance. Okay, then we'll get into all this. Okay, I think we have started off with the implementation right away. So before that, I want to give you what are all the different things available in the SuccessFactor instance, and then I'll give you your credentials also. You can start exploring. ज़्यादा ही टाइम हो रहा है. टाइम ले रहा है. So you understood the concept, right? How to make changes to the data model? हाँ तो correct, exactly. But see, problem is the person who has access to provisioning account, only they can make these changes. Not everyone in the team will make these changes. या करेक्ट, सर्टिफाइड बंदा ही करता है ना तो. करेक्ट, एग्जैक्टली. हाँ, इसीलिए तो मुझे आपको दिखाना पड़ रहा है, क्योंकि टीम में मैंने बहुत सारे प्रोजेक्ट्स में काम किया. नॉट एवरीवन फर्स्ट थिंग विल गेट अ चांस टू वर्क ऑन डेटा मॉडल्स. गो बैक एंड लेट मी डू इट वंस अगेन. बार बार ये एक्चुअली वीकेंड्स को क्या होता है ना, नो वन विल बी वर्किंग ऑन दीज थिंग्स, राइट? सो एसएपी विल कीप अपग्रेडिंग दिस सिस्टम. करेक्ट, एग्जैक्टली, ट्रू. स्लो हो जाता है, करेक्ट. तो उसकी वजह से. सो लेट्स कंटिन्यू टुमारो यार. ओके, एटलीस्ट इफ यू गॉट द कॉन्सेप्ट राइट. आप रोक देंगे या कल कल फिर से देखेंगे, कुछ और ऑब्जेक्ट में चेंजेस करेंगे. हाँ, ओके. या एंड जो भी रिलेटेड फाइल्स चाहिए आपको, वो मैं आपको मेल कर दूंगा. होगा तो आप ट्राई करो. एक्सएमएल पैड बोल के कहीं पे फ्री वर्जन आपको मिलेगा, तो डाउनलोड करके रखें. या एंड व्हाट आई डू इज मीनवाइल आई डाउनलोड द डेटा मॉडल्स फ्रॉम आवर सिस्टम एंड आई शेयर देम विद यू. ओके, एंड एक्सएमएल पैड में आप वो डेटा मॉडल्स ओपन करके देख सकते हो. Okay, so whatever I showed you, that is the maximum that you can do in a data model. That's it. Okay, अगर आपको फील्ड को मैंडेटरी करना है, या उसका लेंथ चेंज करना है, उसका नाम चेंज करना है, उसको देखना है, या उसको विजिबिलिटी चेंज करना है, वैसे बहुत मिनिमम चेंजेस है. ओके, करेक्ट, एग्जैक्टली. जो अगर क्लाइंट बोलेगा मुझे और दो फील्ड चाहिए, अब वो क्रिएट कर दोगे, उसका नाम दे दोगे और अपलोड कर दोगे, बस हो गया। प्रोविजनिंग में अपलोड कर दोगे, the same thing will get reflected in your instance. Once it is available in the instance, you can start maintaining the data. Okay. Alright. भाई वो पैसे को क्या करेंगे?